Hey, so quick review just to show you my earlier BTC analysis, just to clarify a few things. I already did a video earlier explaining this, but let me just quickly run through it, right? So this is the last wave. I had three different counts. One where this was like, where wave 3, 4, 5, right? And then this correction was so shallow, I realized I had the count wrong all along. This was actually the end of wave 3, 4, 5. Then I had another alternative count where this entire part here was all part of an extended third wave, which then retraces pretty far and then would come back up. That retrace could never go back down past 4,400 because of that's where wave 1 ends for this entire major wave. If I zoom all the way out, I know this chart's messy, but just bear with me just to show you here. This has all of my notes ever and stuff. I don't delete anything. All of these resistances will come in handy at some point. This wave 1 here ends at 4,400. So I said we can never go back south of 4,400. But I misspoke. I was thinking of a different count when I was talking about that because there's see multiple counts on the chart at once. In reality, this is 1, 2, 3 is over. Then we had 4, and now we're on wave 5. And I'm settled in. I'm like 95% sure that's the correct count. So my saying that we could never retrace on the next correction to 4,400 doesn't really apply. That's what I said in my clarification video that I posted a few hours ago. So in reality, what I'm thinking is this was wave 4, this correction right here, subwave 4 of this major fifth, right? The ending, the fifth wave, and this is the sub count of the fifth wave. So now we're getting into subwave 5 of subwave 5, which will be a nice final run before a deeper correction. That correction is going to be the big one that goes down up to like 1,200 bucks. It could go all the way down to the high 4,000 range, 100%. It's possible. I don't think we'll go that far. I think we're pretty bullish. We'll get a relatively shallow retracement. So if all of this, right, this 5, forget about this one. Let's just make a note that says this is intermediate. Let's do a different color. So we know that's a subwave of this wave, right? Now, if I zoom all the way out, let me go to, I like to go to other charts that are clean so I can kind of actually make it look somewhat reasonable. So let's look at the 4-hour. Let me show you really quick, right? So this was the bottom of our correction, was down here. So if that's the bottom of our correction, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which I think is going to keep going all the way up to about here, right? Now, this entire wave is wave 1. And then there's going to be a wave 2, which I believe will retrace about 50% to the 50% retracement. It is not retracing back to the 618 here. Now, if I do a fib retracement here to try to look for confluence, it's a trick I do where I do multiple fib retracements. One, all the way from the bottom, from the start of the entire impulse. One from the beginning of wave 3, and occasionally I'll do one just of wave 5. But in this instance, I'm looking primarily at this larger portion of the wave and the entirety of the wave. The entirety of the wave is going to go further out to the right because that's indicating that it goes back from a further place back to start. A further back, starting spot over here. So we're going to look for confluence where two fib levels are pretty much identical from the same or similar count. Right there. So the 236 is very accurate. That's going to be a really strong support. And guess what? It already has been. This has been a crucial support and resistance around 54.50 on this chart. This is the Coinbase chart. It's in a similar area on my chart too. It's a little bit different. But you can see we got a major rejection here. We finally broke through, and now we're getting a ton of support right there. So when you get a confluence of indicators, a Fibonacci confluence, when you hear me use that term, it's part of my strategy and model. I use different terms than other people use because I kind of came up with my own system. I've designed a lot of it, engineered it from scratch. I'm a network engineer by trade. I think technically, and I'm used to using acronyms and crap. So anyway, that term, just like PASS, personal asset short selling, the PASS strategy, we'll get into that another time. This 236 is a very strong support and resistance, so you want to make a note of that on your chart. Got a very strong support resistance there, and again, rejection a little short of it, rejection right here, and now we're getting a ton of support right there. That's why I don't think we're retracing any further. I think that was the bottom, and we're back into subwave 5 of wave 5. If I go back to my primary chart here, you'll see we did bounce off of a very strong support right there, right where the 382 is. This was one of the more minors, but this probably key support equates to that on the other chart. It's different because this is the Bitfinex chart where I do my primary charting on. But either way, this wave 4 bounce is right around that same vicinity, pretty much where the top of this wave was. See how that sort of matches up? This little range right here, we can actually draw it like this. From that support to this support. Oh, babies are crying. I'm going to have to go in a second. So yeah, there we go. That's our primary support range. That's where we got rejected here. That's where we got the support right here. I think subwave 4 is done. We're now on the final wave 5 of wave 5. And just to show you again on that long-term analysis, the way to look at this is all of this, like I said, this is all wave 1. I can zoom out even further and show you. So in this context, we actually could do a deeper correction here. I think it's going to be at about 4,500 is the lowest we're going to go. I think more likely we'll be a little bit higher. But wave 3 here can get up as high as maybe 9, low 9s. If I were to do a 1-to-1, look at a 1618 extension of wave 1, it's a little different on the Coinbase chart than it is on the other one. Oh, sorry. Whoops. Let me do a full wave 1, assuming my wave 5 target is correct here, right? That puts 92 and change is a potential target for wave 3, since it's going to be the most impulsive wave. We're going to get quite a lot of movement out of wave 3 on this larger primary count, this major count. Let me denote that on here. Let me just call that a cycle. So this wave 3 is going to be the big boy that we're looking forward to. We do need to get this correction here, which is going to be substantial. This is going to drop. If we were to go down to the 50% retracement, that's going to be a $1,400 drop. I think we might even hold at the 382. I'm not saying we're definitely going to the 0.5. I think probably the 382 is an ideal retracement target for a couple of different reasons. One, we have a ton of confluence there, right? The 236 is going to be the most confluence, but that's a little shallow to retrace on such a major correction. As tight as these 236s are together, the 382 are also pretty tight. That's also generating a very strong support. Right around here. So we have a very strong support there as well. And again, when we're looking at confluence, we have a confluence of those Fibonacci indicators, but take a look at all the support here. It's not a coincidence that this is such a major support zone where we have a confluence of indicators with both fib retracements. Yeah, so it's a very helpful tool. I mean, even looking, just to give you an example, looking on the way up. Let's get rid of these, right? And let's say we were looking to see where we had ideal support on the way up here. We could do fib retracement of the entire, well, how should I do this? Let's say we're looking just here at wave 3, right? So subwave 3 here. Let's see if it works. It doesn't always work, but hopefully it does. I haven't pre-prepared this knowing that it works or something, so I can show you how I know so much or how my model's great. So let's say we do a retracement. This is going to be wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we're looking for places where we might get potential support, we can do wave 1, draw that out. I could do another one from the start of wave 3 up to the top of wave 3. And now let's see where we have confluence. Look at that. Perfect. Right at the 786 and the 0.5. Major confluence. Look how strong of a support that is. I just showed you. I hope you guys believe me. I didn't pre-prepare that. I didn't know it was going to be this perfect. I never chart on the Coinbase chart. That's why this whole chart is so bare. You know what my charts look like when I chart on them. This is my Bitfinex chart, which gives half of you guys a seizure. So looking at this one, which was right here, the Coinbase one, in this example, we have a confluence, a Fibonacci confluence with the 0.5 and the 786 of these two retracements, and that is by far, the strongest support you're going to find on this entire wave 3 up, where not only did we get a lot of holds right here, we were riding at that support forever. We dipped down, came back up. Even when we tried to go down and break through, all of the wicks on these candles were all getting rejected at that exact level. So this video is meant to be a really quick review of BTC's overall count so I can correct a mistake before, but it turned into a good lesson on using Fibonacci and looking for confluence. People in my group are very familiar with that terminology. They know what to look for when I'm looking for confluence. But for people who aren't in the group, there's a free lesson for you because I was going to make this video public anyway. So again, just to remind you, I think we're in sub-wave 5 of wave 5 because we're bouncing off of that strong support zone. So we should have a continuous run all the way up to the low 6,000 range. Now, just to remind you from what I said earlier, this was my top right here. It was a very accurate call. This was the end of my wave 5 before. So before I had my sub count as like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then wave 5 was ending right here, and this was the start of the major correction. But given how much support we're seeing here, and looking at the overall correction that I came up with, the new Elliott wave count that I came up with an extended wave 5 that goes all the way up to this full 1-to-1 extension at 6,100. This is most likely what's going to happen. I feel like this is by far the most accurate model I have. So yeah, I think that explains it, that clarifies it. And just to remind you, 4,400 right here, 44.41, is a major support that I don't believe is ever going to get broken. So when we get to the point where we're doing this total retracement, right? So after this full wave 1, and we get this big wave 2 drop right here, I think the most likely target is going to be just under 5,000 in the high 4,000 range. But if necessary, if it has to go down to the 382 over here, about 4,600 is possible. 4,500 is even possible. I do not think it's ever going below 4,400 ever again. I'm pretty excited about that. That's a big deal. And I'm not positive it's never going to. It's certainly possible from a technical perspective, but with my model, I don't just focus on TA. I don't only worry about technicals. I look at fundamentals, market psychology, and individual people, how they do or don't affect the market based on how much power they have. Roger Ver, John McAfee, these are actual people who can have a huge impact on the market just by saying something or not saying something. So it's important to factor that into your analysis as well. In this case, this is mostly based on fundamentals and market psychology, where I've derived that this is a technical target, right? Because we're talking about the 236 and then the 382 retracement as targets. In this case, the 382 is the most likely, I believe. So that's a technical term, right? We're talking about a potential target for the retracement. But the reason why I don't feel like the major correction can go far enough to hit 4,400 is largely based on the market psychology and fundamental side of things. I don't know anybody right now that's willing to liquidate and sell off. So when people say we haven't capitulated yet, by definition, capitulation means that everybody's sold. People who are still hanging around in the market said, screw this, I'm getting my money out, this thing is dead. And they fled the market, taking out whatever capital they had left. That's happened. I don't know anybody left in this market who's a seller. There's no sellers left. There's only buyers. People like us who've stayed in the market and will continue to stay in the market. And then people on the outside who are starting to come in. There is new money coming into the market. I'm really confident about all this stuff. I feel really good about it. If I end up being wrong, I'll eat my words and admit it. But I'm pretty goddamn sure we're moving up and moving up a lot. We just have this one big correction. We're going to drop 20 to 30% potentially on the way up, but that has to happen. This would be about a 20% drop, yeah. So going to my 382 target would be about a 20% drop. We'll drop about 30% market value going down to the 50% retracement, but I don't think we're getting that. And remember at my other video where I said, guys, we're going to correct and we're going to see big drops. Wake the fuck up. That other video, I was specifically talking about how the 2017 bull run, when we saw it really blow up, even that had 30% drops. Every other week we were dropping 30%. It just has to happen. That's part of the process. You have large corrections, and then you get another impulse wave. You get a correction and a motive wave, a correction and a motive wave. Natural part of the process. Anyway, I'm going to go take care of the kids crying. You guys trade safe, and, don't get ripped off.